Alrighty, what is up, dudes and dudettes, bros and broettes? Today we've got the finals of Brood War Tournament number 1. And just to roll us all back through time, let's go ahead and take a look at the bracket, right? So you should be able to see the bracket. Not sure if you can see my cursor. There you go. Now you should be able to see my cursor. These two players, Javi and Styx, are who we're going to be watching. This is going to be a best of 5 series with the player from the winners bracket starting off with 1 win, right? And that player is going to be Javi. There's been a few streams of him in the past. If you go back through the playlist, you'll see the winners bracket semifinals right here between I Am So Cool and Javi, and the losers bracket semifinals between I Am So Cool and Styx. But I got to say, this was a rocky road, right? You look through kind of the history here, and we have round 1. There's a lot of 2-0 victories, right? A lot of different skill differentiation, within these brackets. But then as we start getting closer and closer to the finals, right? Even in the losers bracket, right? 2-1, 2-1, 2-1, 2-1 right here to include Javi, right? This was a rocky road, and this is the first tournament that everyone came together in StarCraft Underground and launched into, and it was a great success, right? You may see this like 0.99. We do that for forfeits and walkovers, etc. But anyway, just wanted to open up with that. We are about to watch the finals from Brood War number 1 between Javi and Styx, and remember, it's a best of 5. The previous ones have all been best of 3, and Javi is starting off with 1 victory. So let me go ahead and minimize this, and let's go ahead and get into it. Game 1 is going to be on Polypoid, and let's get right into it. Let's dive in. Also, make sure you crack a cold one. Enjoy this series. Delicious. Shift tab. Down here on Polypoid, let's go ahead and show the entire map for the first little part. We do have our red Terran Javi in the top right, and in the bottom left we have our blue Zerg Styx. Styx US in the bottom left. Now, I don't recall, and I should have looked at it in the bracket. Not sure if these two players faced off against each other during this particular bracket, but I have, I believe, personally faced both of them, and even though I'm a horrible player, they both have absolutely stomped me. So not to take away from them, they're both very skilled, and I bet we are going to be seeing absolute fireworks during this series. So right now, I do have the map completely displayed, so we might as well go over it a little bit, right? Polypoid, pretty standard, probably one of the more like standard maps in the entire pool. It is a 4 spawn map in each of the corners. And then there's also a pretty standard like natural here, right? Natural with minerals, gas, but nothing on the ramp, no eggs, no minerals, nothing crazy. A decent sized choke, but still wallable. And then a third base immediately outside. Now, this third base is mineral only, right? And so that kind of comes into play on, specifically as we have a Zerg player, right? You know, Zerg trying to take a third, gas is so important, especially for Zerg. So identifying where the Zerg ends up taking their third base ends up being kind of an interesting phenomenon, whether they immediately just go for this one due to safety and proximity, or if they have to go a little bit farther and potentially take this one, or even, the other one along the sides at the 3 and the 9. But I'll go ahead and hide the map again so we can see what the players are looking at and see what it is that they are up to. So Javi, there's really nothing else to do at this point, right? That's why I always try to have these nice filler conversations kind of in the beginning, because I mean the first 3 minutes of Brood War is almost the same thing every time, unless it's some sort of wild proxy cheese or something. But Javi is scouting counterclockwise. He's going to go up here and see that this base is vacant and going to run into the drone. So both of these players probably aware at this point that it's a cross spawn, and Styx is probably going to have a very good idea that it's a cross spawn, being that his Overlord did not even see the SCV coming out or anything along those lines. Second SCV I thought was going to be hanging out here for maybe a barracks fast expand, but might be heading south to get an absolute confirmation right off the bat. So this is an indicator to me of potential aggression or fear of aggression, to make sure they get a confirmation. So maybe not a hyper-aggressive build, as the command center is going down after barracks here for Javi. These Marines are going to be shooing the drone away, but the drone did see that the expansion was happening. Similar situation over here. We have a spawning pool fast lair, I think. You'll have to let me know in the comments if you're a Zerg player, like what the general layer timing is. But anyway, that feels a little fast. Probably a rush into Mutalisks, if I were to guess, just because that seems so prevalent in the brackets, at least against the Zergs that I have ran into. These Zerglings are eventually going to likely chase down that SCV. It looks like it's going to be running home. I didn't see what happened to that second SCV. Maybe that is the second SCV. Should have been paying a little bit closer attention. I have a full bunker along with a 5th Marine, probably another barracks going down. Indeed, it is. Gas is happening. Another supply depot. We'll probably see an academy shortly in just a minute to start getting stim upgrades going once that that gas is up and saturated. And there it is. Yeah, rush to Mutalisk. We have the Spire going down right away. That feels very, very quick. So quick, in fact, that I feel like this might be particularly dangerous. Now, Marines, inherent anti-air defense, but tough to bounce back and forth, especially with the expansion down here. And there's no engineering bay, right? In fact, it is going to be an academy, is going to be going for that stim. And I do believe the SCV saw this Spire as well. It was being attacked, but last time we were down here, we saw the SCV kind of going behind the mineral line, and I imagine it saw the Spire. So Javi either feeling very comfortable with the air defense with the Marines that are on hand, or comfortable that this engineering bay with some turrets will get down in time. Good amount of Zerglings coming across the field. But there's a healthy amount of Marines here as well. Now these Zerglings, if they can take out as many Marines as possible, that will open the path for those Mutalisks to come in and just do utter destruction. But unfortunately for Styx, these Zerglings are not getting the job done. It looked like they were almost like move commanding into the main base. I didn't see a whole lot of Marines go down, just a few. Now, we do have about 8 Marines and a couple medics with this group, and this is going to be a decent push. Now, how far away are we from these Mutalisks? It looks like we have 5 Mutalisks and +1 flyer weapons coming online for 4 Styx. Now the upgrade's going to take a while, but these Mutalisks are not. They're going to come out, and I'm curious if he's going to just run them straight to the opposing base and hit Javi, where there's effectively almost no defense. Now there's one turret going down that I see 3 being built in production, a couple here at the natural, but no, opting to stay home and defend against this Marine push. What you often see as well is a bunch of Sunkens starting to get put down here, right? Like we see this push, there is still a chance to get some Sunkens over on these bases, but it looks like Styx trying to defend primarily with the wow, that was a fast GG. Holy dang. Holy dang indeed. We got some early fireworks, and Javi pushed across the map, and Styx threw in the towel. I think what happened, I kind of just want to check back real quick. Maybe that was a little too far. I want to see what happened with these Mutalisks, because I was bouncing around talking about Sunkens and stuff like a dingus when there was like a huge battle going on. Let's see what's happening. Okay, Overlord, which is not a Mutalisk. Where are the Mutalisks? There it is. All right, so we have 2... 3, okay, so we have 5 Mutalisks, 2 more on the way. I wanted to see, like, how bad these Mutalisks died. Okay, so it's just a couple. Oh, but then this Overlord goes down. We're reaching, like, supply block territory. Okay, Styx just wasn't feeling it. No harm, no foul, throws in the GG, and we are on to the next game in this series. Now, don't forget, right? Javi started with 1 win because of, being rewarded for traveling through the winner's bracket to get to the finals. So, right now, we are on match point, right? Javi is at 2-0 against Styx. So, Styx needs a reverse sweep, 3 wins to come out of this and be the champion of this tournament, and Javi just needs to win 1 more game. Definitely a big advantage coming in from the winners bracket. All right, so map 2 we do have Dominator. Dominator 3-player map we have a spawn up here at the 11 o'clock position. 3 o'clock has a spawn, and then 7 o'clock has a spawn. And down here in the 7 o'clock position, you can see our red Terran Javi, who is sitting here on match point. And up here at the 11 o'clock position, we have our blue Zerg. I gotta say, I think he probably had some fight left in him that last game. I kind of wanted to see what that would look like if it was completely fought out. Maybe I'm wrong on the math. Let me know. I mean, obviously the Marine push is very healthy, and I think probably the deciding point of that last match was those Zerglings running in. That was a lot of Zerglings, that was a lot of larvae, and I think it was less the engagement with the Mutalisks and more of the fact that there weren't any Zerglings around, and they were kind of given away. So I feel like Styx was probably shaking his head after that moment. But anyway, back to Dominator, right? So Dominator, the spawning locations that I described earlier, they're in kind of like a low ground position. Some drop opportunities here. I don't think we'll probably see much of that, at least from the Zerg player. Maybe some lurker drops or something. And then an elevated natural with a nice choke that can be walled off very easily. And then all mineral base in the low ground between two elevated locations. You have these pizza slices that are elevated locations all over the place. Generally, what happens is these become kind of like the key terrain during the fight, right? At least the early to mid game. The pizza slices immediately towards your opponent, right? Because it is a 3-player map, right? So it'd be like either this one, or in this case, this one, and this one. You see a lot of engagements really decided around these because it defends that all mineral base. So we'll go ahead and see how this game ends up playing out. I do hope it's longer than the last game, and we get a good macro fight out of it in a nice long finals series. So Styx is throwing down a hatchery. Styx is also not going to be surprised by where Javi is, having seen, I believe, this expansion with an Overlord. And we have fastlings coming out this time. All right. Last time, I should have been checking the clock, but I think he was already on his way to lair. This time he's spending money on Zerglings. Actually, there's probably no way he was already on the lair. But just now getting the gas and Zerglings moving across the map. And it's not surprising either, right, to go a little bit more aggressive as Zerg. One, because you can with the early Zergling pressure, but two, because of it being a 3-player map, right? You send your Overlord somewhere, and you either confirm or deny that the opponent is at that base, and then you know where they're at, right? They're either at the other one, or they just aren't playing around in their expansion, which is highly unlikely. So a couple of Zerglings poke in, but there is a solid wall off here from Javi, including several Marines doing a good job body blocking. This is a good wall. I'm going to try to remember this because walling as Terran, especially against Zerglings, is such a pain in the butt, right? There's all these crazy little gaps between the buildings and the terrain that are less than intuitive, right? Like it matters, like because the barracks' right side is against this piece of unbuildable terrain, unpassable terrain, it's a wall. However, I wouldn't be surprised if they could actually move through right here. And that's probably why he specifically has Marines parked in that position. Another barracks going down for Javi, gas as well. And it looks like we have a third hatchery going down in the main. Layers being built as well. In this game, we do see, and I don't know if it'll spike or change as the expansion for Javi kind of steps up, but the drone count staying a lot closer. Well, maybe not. Seems about the same. I should have paid closer attention to Javi's build last game. What I'm really looking for here, or not Javi's build, Styx build, is whether he was going to go Spire or Hydralisk, right? So it does look like we're going to be seeing a different game right off the bat. He is going Hydralisk Den. Likely to see, lurker technology coming up as fast as possible. And we do have creep colonies here. Kind of a lesson learned, I think, from last game with the Marine push. Potentially wishing that, there were some Sunkens there to slow it down. Comsat station going down for both of these command centers. And I believe Stim as well. Yeah, Stim. So when these medics pop out, is likely when we'll see the push. We have one medic and then the second coming out right here. This was the trigger for last game, and it doesn't look like Javi's really deviating from that. We'll see if he's just going to push away these lings and try to secure a third, like a fast third, or if he's just going to push and put on the aggression. Javi hasn't been back over towards Styx's base so far, right? So he hasn't seen that it's Hydralisks, but he also hasn't seen Mutalisks fly in yet. So I think that he's a little bit in the dark about what's going on, and trying to get this early push out to get some damage and gain that initiative. So he does clean up the Zerglings, and he's heading back out. Lost a Fire Bat, I think, what, like 1 or 2 SCVs? Looks like he's like fixing his control groups, and then he'll probably push. More Lings, 3 Sunkens. Very solid. Second Extractor. And Lurker technology just completed. So we'll see if he goes for some earlier Lurker hatching. There's an egg right there. There's a leg right there. An egg. A leg. A leg? No, an egg. An egg is right there. I need to quit drinking when I'm doing these casts. Not only does it make me slur my words, but it makes me say things like leg instead of egg. Zerglings branching out across the map, Overlord. It does look like Styx is doing a good job and emphasizing just map vision and beginning to spread. So here's a situation that we kind of talked about on the last map, but plays a similar role in this one as well, right? Do you take the all mineral, which is, you know, maybe a closer proximity to your natural, or do you take a little bit of a further base that is, you know, easier to secure by ramp, but has a gas? And right here we are seeing Styx take that gas base. Zerglings poking in, seeing what they can see. What they ended up seeing was the end of a bunch of marine rifles, and at least one goes down. And it looks like Javi is gearing up on defense a little bit. So since he didn't push after the medics came out, which was kind of like an initial general trigger to get a push in, we do have +1 being researched as kind of like the next tech aspect that's coming up. And I think he may try to push once infantry weapons is up. What this is kind of showing me is that he might be a little bit expectant of a push of Styx, right? He's got 2 bunkers, 2 turrets. Nothing here in the main, though. It leads me to believe he's not expecting Mutalisks, probably knowing, like, hey, if I would have seen, you know, Mutalisks, they would have been here by now. And he's sending an SCV out to get the lay of the land. Where are these hatcheries? Is there anything sneaky going on? You know, is Styx trying to secure the other main base? And he's learning that none of that is the case. But right here, he is going to confirm that lurkers are the tech that he is facing up against. We do have siege mode and siege tanks being finished up. Starport throwing on a control tower. This leads me to believe drop play, but it may be science vessels actually, now that I think about it. That's probably the initial thing he'll get going. Get some irradiates. So he is going to also see that the third base for Styx is up here on this high ground. And then the SCB dies. Good job, SCB. You did good work. Now we are moving up to Hive, and the Spire is being created here for Styx. And once we get Hive, you know, I would expect kind of a race to Defiler. And then getting that Spire up to really generate Scourge. To really get the anti-science vessel unit out on the field. Wouldn't be surprised if a third starts coming up here for Javi soon, but instead opting to increase his production, going up to 4 barracks, factory, starport. We're getting that science vessel like we discussed, and the irradiate is being researched. So now he's at 2 tanks and a whole buttload of marines. Neither player really pushing out too much. Both players totally comfortable with just leaving each other alone and powering up. And there's the Defiler Mound, yeah. So we'll be seeing Defilers coming out shortly in addition to Scourge, maybe a couple of Mutas, but I really think the Scourge are going to be the play. Alright, we have a big push from our Terran. Look at this blob on the map. Got like a screen and a half of a parade march going on here. And there's no overlords or anything over here that's seeing this. I don't think that this overlord is really catching much. It's being zoned out by these turrets. It may have seen some pathing traffic going on through here. But this may come as a complete surprise. And there's not much of a reaction either. So I think that this is going to come out of nowhere. Now there's 2 lurkers, a whole bunch of sunkens. Nidus being built to go between the bases. And we'll have to see how this push goes. I'm wondering, you know, if Styx is going to come back and try to defend this, or if he's going to charge towards the natural and get his own attack / base trade in motion. Now it looks like Javi is splitting his force and trying to hit all these lurkers that are cutting off his reinforcements. And it does look like Styx is going to be pushing forward towards Javi's base. Now I really like this from the sense that it is completely stalled out this push. His bases will live, he can continue producing, but it's how it occurs, right? A lot of lurkers going down, but once they knock these bio units out, unfortunately they can't hit the tank, and the science vessel are going to just do a ton of damage. Great job getting those lurkers out of there. An irradiate does go down on one of them, but the vast majority of these lurkers are going to live to see another day, and that's great. That's what we want to see from Styx. The irradiated lurker goes down. And the reason why I was harping on that is I feel like we see a lot of like big lurker pushes like that, and they get plopped down and they just shoot spines until they die, right? And that's in the world without defilers. I think once we get the defilers up, like the defiler moment is a huge turning point for our Zerg player. He's got plenty of Zerglings to consume. Plague is being upgraded right now. And yeah, these lurkers and sunkens, no bio is getting through here. But these tanks are really the big problem, especially the science vessels as well. So those are the high value targets. Lurker not quite under the cloud, is still taking some damage from marine shots. But a lot of this push from Javi is going to get mopped up. I think that this push was intended to be the game-winning push from Javi. I think he was looking to get that 3-0 over Styx, and Styx is fighting back tooth and nail. Lurkers, defilers, this is such a pain in the butt for a Terran to deal with. But the Terran is Legion. Look at this. Red-colored dudes running across the map. But Styx is pretty well spread, right? He's got stuff a little bit everywhere so that he can come in for different flanks, so that he's not being surprised on his expansions. And here comes some Scourge. Can they get the connection? There's a lot of Marines there. He needs to move now before they... Oh no, they all get wiped out. Very unfortunate for our Zerg player. This looks like a little bit of a rally point, actually. The Scourge just kind of flying in. And this Terran force is going to get wiped out, but it's not the only Terran force that is out on the map. Javi does have this one over here, much closer to the natural base. And I would say that these trades feel very economic and efficient for Styx. And Lurkers tend to do that against these large bio forces that irradiate, doing a ton of damage to everything around it. Marines snooping and pooping, looking for some expansions. These Lurkers need to get out of dodge, but there's so much happening on the map, there's only so much APM. Okay, this one... Oh, I guess it is in range of the science vessel. I didn't know if it had vision or not. And we see another expansion going down. So I was curious when this would start happening, right? So both of these players, they've been duking it out, but they still need to continue to upgrade their economy. They need to continue to increase their ability to outproduce the other, especially with main bases that are, you know, going to be getting mined out, right? There's probably only like 1,000-ish minerals left here. That's going to be done here in a real short amount of time. So Javi has expanded up here to the 9 o'clock position, and I think he's keeping an eye on when Zerg will likely take this this 1 o'clock position. Maybe 2. Let's call that 2 o'clock. More lurkers, more Hydra, more defilers. Upgrades continuing for both players. Both players being very very good on staying on top of that. And Javi continuing with the Marine tank science vessel production. This looks like a pretty good setup for our Zerg player, especially once these lurkers get under these defiler clouds. Lurkers under, you know, defiler clouds are so dang effective. It's disgusting. There's a few things I hate in this world, right? Protoss and their storms, specifically, and lurkers under defiler clouds. It feels like cheating. Like, look, those clouds are still there. Like, they just don't ever go away, it feels like. Now, these lurkers need to get underground. There we go. Getting underground, knocking out a lot of these reinforcements at this point in time. Now, this is where this is going to be a huge engagement. If these lurkers can get up there, I think these Hydralisks a little bit outpacing the lurker support, which is a really tricky dance. I don't think that this is going to have enough oomph behind it. But depending on reinforcements, this would be the push to use to take out this base. There's nothing up there on that 9 o'clock position. Oh no, we got a lone defiler out here that's probably going to get given away for free if it doesn't run. Run, defiler. Okay, that was this really solid push from Styx. It got Javi all the way back into his main base, and it enabled him to take his 4th. Right? Definitely needs to get that 4th up. When it comes to hatchery count, you can see that Styx is also using a ton of macro hatcheries at his bases. I think hatchery count overall, but that's 5, 6, 7, 8, soon to be 9. Over here, we've got 8 barracks, 2 starport, and a factory. So both players just pumping tons of production. But as we were talking earlier, right, we're at the point where things are about to start mining out. And so Javi's base just mined out in his main. Zerg takes a little bit longer, right? Drone counts normally don't keep up with SCV counts, etc. So it takes them a little while longer to mine out bases, but the main for Styx will also be mining out here shortly. So they need to keep expanding on the map and securing these expansions. Somehow these Zerglings snuck right in here. So Zerglings kind of going out, scouting, seeing where the weak points are, and really drawing Javi's army up here to the north, while the rest of Styx's army is going down here to the south. Couple Zerglings down there. But Javi caught wind of it somehow, and is coming down south to meet this army. Huge irradiate there, right in the middle of everything going on. Defiler clouds are going down. Not everything getting underneath, but enough, right? Just a couple lurkers are needed to absolutely cut this Bioforce into ribbons, right? These lurkers continuing to move up. They are now in range of the command center, which will likely have to be lifted unless something big can come in here and start taking these lurkers out. Now, instead of lifting, Javi is able to effectively repair this, as only a couple lurkers are in range. And while that's going on, is doing a push of his own. Now, if Javi can take out this hatchery, that would be a pretty big deal. Especially if he's able to secure this position and prevent Styx from retaking it. Okay. Kind of a weird situation going on here. He's up here hitting the hatchery. These lurkers are going to probably eliminate everything that's down here in combination with these Zerglings. But he still needs to come back up here and take this out, right? A couple Hydralisks and a lurker. That might be enough. But is the hatchery going to go down? It's going to be really close, I think. Also a fight up here. I'm trying to catch it all. We'll see how far we can zoom out. We'll just zoom out to the entire map. Okay, it does look like that gets cleaned up, but a very weak hatchery here and something to keep in mind. So, Marines now sneaking into the third base. And this time doing a lot of damage to like the drone count, right? I think they look like they got a good amount of drones. Tried to take out the Nidus unsuccessfully. And there's really nothing taking out these science vessels. There's been a few Scourge flying around, but with the sheer number of Marines, the Marines have just been blasting them right out of the sky. There's been really not many connections from those Scourge. Now, this is a banger of a game. This is what I was hoping Game 1 would be. Game 1 was over way too fast, in my opinion. Okay, there's one Scourge. I mean, there's a point where these irradiates are going to start being too effective of a counter. Right? Like, there's no lurkers with this army. Oh my gosh, there's another hatchery that went down here. I didn't even notice that. Not sure how long that's been there. It doesn't look like too long. But it also looks extremely vulnerable. I think, you know, we have more Hydralisks and a Defiler coming down, but there's no Defiler with this army. There's no Lurkers with this army. This is mostly Hydralisks with a few Zerglings sprinkled in. And, yeah, this is going to be a tough engage. Now, once the Defiler gets up here, starts clouding these Marines, this is going to prevent a good amount of damage from these Marines and the tank. But so much damage has already been done. I think that this hatchery is going to have to be sacrificed. And I don't think that that's the biggest deal in the world, right? It's unfortunate, of course, but there's other opportunities. The cool thing about this one is that it was the natural of the third player spawn location. So if this was able to be secured, was able to be held, which it might be, holy crap, this fight is still going on, and it is being cleaned up, then it allows for an easy expansion into the main. Okay, I think Javi's gonna just get it. Little skirmishes going on all over the map. Outside the natural of Styx's base, there's an engagement. It does look like Styx will be cleaning it up. And then there's about a control group plus of Marines, Fire Bats, and Medics heading up to the fourth base for Styx. Now this hatchery did go down. So, and this hatchery, don't forget, has been wildly weakened. So if these Marines get in there, oh, especially with that defense matrix, I think that this hatchery is going to go down as well. Now, it does look like Javi is prioritizing drone damage, getting a lot of them, but I think getting this hatchery is really where you know, he could be focusing. Knock it out and then hit the drones later, because this is Zerg production, right? You knock down that hatchery, less stuff is just being made, period. But it does go down, so no worries there for Javi. We have a Defiler mound with, it appears to be Hydralisks underneath, so I don't think they're actually doing any damage. But I think they're taking damage from a Fire Bat that is down in there. And that looks like it's going to be it, right? I think it's at the point, I didn't see quite what the situation was. Let me double check. Because again, I felt like there was some fight in there still from Styx. I want to see where we were at with like supply. So supply was definitely towards Javi's favor. Minerals were starting to look pretty low, right? So like the natural mines out here in just a second. The main has a couple minutes of minerals still remaining. But I think with the elimination of this and the elimination of this and this enormous just army factory that Javi has set up, I think Styx saw the writing on the wall when he pushed over here and wasn't able to damage Javi's economy, and felt the pressure of Javi being everywhere all at once. I think that's kind of what the nail in the coffin was. I mean, maybe he definitely could have fought for a little bit longer, but overall, I think it made sense. It made sense. Great job to our players. That does make Javi the Brood War Tournament #1 champion with a 3-0 record against Styx. Both of these players will level up in the StarCraft Underground hierarchy. All players start as noobs or level 1, but once they finish in top 2, they shed that noob role and they gain the level 2 role. And that will enable them to participate in level 2 only tournaments that can then level them up to the highest level, which is level 3, and then I guess one other layer beyond that. But we're a ways off, as these tournaments generally take about up to 6 weeks to complete. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. I thought this was a really fun series, and it's been fun watching these players progress through the bracket, and I look forward to casting them as we move forward. So, take it easy.